So I'm going to show you guys how to make these cool little star decorations for your Christmas tree. That's what I'm making them for. So I have my colored yarn here. I'm using the Bernat Handicrafter yarn, and this is my hook that I'm going to be using today. So it's just a size H hook. Okay. So you're just going to need some scissors, a needle to sew your ends in with, and a stitch marker. So to begin with, we're going to put a loop onto our hook, and what we're going to do here is just put your yarn just like this, as you see here, and then we're going to take that top piece, fold it over so you have a little pretzel, and then we're just going to pick up this side right here. So we've got that onto our hook. I'm just going to pick it up, and there you can see our knot forming there. Okay, so now we're going to hold it this way so that our working yarn is coming out here, the tail's down at the end. So what we're going to do is you're going to kind of hold that a little bit loose, and then chain 2. And now we're going to go right back into that same hole right down here, and we're going to do 15 double crochet. So we yarn over, go into that hole, come up, and do our double crochet. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark that stitch. Okay, so we just mark our first double crochet, and then we're going to continue to work into that same hole right down here. We're going to continue working our double crochet. Now that we have our 15 double crochet in and our first one marked, we're just going to take this tail back here, and we're going to pull it really tight to close up the circle, and now you see it's just a tiny little circle in there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to slip stitch into this first double crochet that we marked here, and we're going to ignore the chain 2. So we're just going to go straight through, whoops, slip stitch into there, pull that tight, and again we want to make sure that this hole is closed up all the way. So just go ahead and give it a really good pull until you've got a nice tightly closed hole in there. Okay, now we're going to continue, and we're going to do a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we're going to go down to the 3rd chain from the hook. So right here into number 3, we're going to single crochet, and that's all we do there. Now in the very next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet. So we yarned over, go through the stitch, and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, in the next chain, a double crochet, okay, and then in our last chain there, another double crochet. Okay, so that's our star point right there, and what we're going to do is, we've been working in this stitch, we're going to count 1, 2, 3. In that 3rd stitch, go ahead and slip stitch right under the V there. Okay, and now you see we have the first point of our star. Again, we're going to repeat that same thing. Now we've slip stitched into the last one. We're going to go ahead and cut our yarn there. Pull through. Okay, so now we want to be able to get our ornament to actually have a little bit of shape and be three-dimensional. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 stars and we'll have some batting here that we will stuff it with. And I'm going to use a needle and a long piece of the same colored yarn. Okay, so now I have my 2 stars. These are the 2 front sides. I'm going to put them back together like this, back to back, and we are going to begin with this. So what I usually do is I start right up here. You can see where the sort of turning point of the star is, and I go down about two stitches down. So I start right under here, but I don't start on the outside. I go between the 2 stars and I start right behind that stitch in there. Okay, so all you're going to do is take your needle and go right behind that stitch, and you're going to pull all of your yarn through. So pull as much of that through as you can, and then you want to leave a little tail that we're going to use later on. So leave that tail a few inches, okay? So we'll just let that hang out for right now, and all we're going to do to sew these 2 together is hold them together and go through stitch by stitch, whipping, doing a whip stitch around, okay? So if we're on the second one here, we just move behind the next stitch, and go all the way through there, all the way through your front panel as well. Pull your yarn through. Remember to get that tail out of there. Okay, and we just loop together there. And let's keep going. So we just go through the back, under the next stitch, and the same thing, you're just doing a nice little whip stitch to join these 2. Okay, you can see that my star is halfway attached. So we've attached all around to here, and I have the rest open. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff these. I'm just going to take a tiny bit to put into each, maybe about half of this into each side. So we just put a little bit down in there, and then what I like to do is just use the back end of my crochet hook to get it down into that piece of the star. And then we put in just another tiny little piece right in here. And again, we're just going to get it right down into the star point. Okay, and then we're going to stuff these, and that's where it's really important that you have just a tight hole here on both sides, otherwise your cotton is going to show through. All of that batting will show through if you have it. You can just see a tiny little bit of the white there, which is okay, and you can you can really try to cram it in there, but I didn't want mine to be too big, so I just put about that much. And then if you take another little bit and kind of make that a little long, you can put that also across the top, and I just try to lay it in just like this, and then we're going to make sure that this is closed up as we continue to seal it. So from right here, I would just go ahead and continue doing my whip stitch. Okay, And here, as we're getting this star point closed up, before we continue to move on, you want to make sure to put just a tiny bit into here as well. So you just want to get a little bit, put it down into there. If it's too much, you can pinch some of that out. But again, you just want to get some into this star point as well, so that they all will have some 3-dimension to them. Okay, and continue sealing. Okay, so now we're getting back around to the top. We're going to continue going all the way around to this star point as well, doing our whip stitch. And I'm still holding on to my original tail here. Now, when I get all the way back to where I'm going to do my last whip stitch here, what we're going to do is go in from the back and go through the star point coming out where it's parallel right here to where our tail goes in. So we're going to go to the back, but we're going to go to the back here, and instead of going through like this, what we're going to do is just go inside. So I've gone through the back. If I can show you there, I've gone through the back, but I'm going to come out here. Okay, so I've gone through the back underneath that stitch there, and now I'm coming out of this side right where it's going to be parallel to this original tail. So I'm going to come out here, pull this all the way through, make sure I get my last little whip stitch, sealing it up there, and now here we have our 2 ends. Okay, so we're just going to put down our needle there, take our 2 ends together, cut that off. So we're going like this, and now we have our star with these 2 ends that we can use as a little ornament handle. Okay, so all I do is just simply knot those 2 ends here, and that is your ornament. So you can straighten it out. We can see it's nicely 3-dimensional. It's got some shape and thickness to it, and you can just hang it. So there you go.